Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Course Consultant Show. I am so excited today to have a very special guest on the show, Ish Baid, who is the founder of Virtually. And Virtually is an amazing platform that empowers anyone to have a fantastic live learning experience on Zoom. And Ish, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show. Ex-Facebook engineer, now founder of Virtually, and have been an amazing founder of a community of people who really want to build out amazing experiences for their customers. I would love to know a little bit more about you, how you got started in virtual learning and in the space of creating live events for training and education.
Thanks, Melody. Excited to be here. Yeah, happy to share a little bit about my background and how I worked my way into starting this funny little ed tech company. So I think a place that I like to share with everybody is my kind of experience is I was actually an immigrant. So my family was born in India, and I didn't actually move to North America until I was 5. And my parents, despite having tremendous credentials, actually had a hard time finding a job in North America. My mom was bagging groceries, and my dad was selling printers on the phone. And it was only through sheer perseverance and will do they work their way up to what they're doing today. My dad's global head of marketing at a pharmaceutical company, and my mom is an engineering manager at a healthcare IT company. And funny enough, she doesn't have a degree in engineering. She actually learned to code through YouTube tutorials.
Wow,
which
that's
is actually
amazing.
the same way I did. And I think that left a really interesting impression for me as a kid, a really powerful impression that online education can be incredibly powerful and it can change lives. So that really stuck with me. I also am self-taught with programming, and while my mom's path put her on the trajectory to her career, it put me on the trajectory to becoming a software engineer at Facebook. So I spent 2 years at Facebook, and then right about 3 years ago, I had this magic moment when I realized online education could be so much more. I kind of looked at kind of traditional online courses, and what I realized was while there was all this amazing content, was really missing was the experience side of things. So when you learn in person, you have this community to lean on. You have this live mentorship, and learning all online, it just felt like this like single player mode, and it was so isolating. And so I just figured that if you could make learning online feel like learning in person, that would just make education way more accessible, way more affordable. And that was the key insight that led to the founding of Virtually.
Yes, and one thing I really appreciate about that, and I want to take a moment and highlight, is that learning online can be very isolating. We are post-pandemic, current pandemic, I don't know what kind of pandemic right now, but experiencing communication and community is incredibly difficult in today's age. And what I really love about your platform and what you're building, Ish Baid, is that you can create that community virtually and have deep relationships, deep discussions, deep engaging conversations and learning experiences on a virtual platform. And today that is so amazingly possible. And I'm glad that you have this platform. So tell us a little bit more about this cohort experience. I know that you have your own podcast, which I would love to talk about as well, but talk about some of the customers that you're serving with your platform. What exactly does Virtually do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of hinted at it, but we essentially serve cohort-based programs. We're not limited to just cohort-based programs, but that's probably the largest kind of customer segment we have. And essentially, a cohort-based program is essentially where a group of students or learners are guided through a curriculum at the same time. And generally, it's intermixed with async content as well as live events to supplement the content. And the thing that's really powerful about cohort-based learning is that you have this group of learners who are at the same stages where you are and have a shared mission for the duration of this program. And while you're going on this learning journey, you have other people right there to help you, to work with you, to build experiences and connections with. And if we actually think back to learning as a kid, K through 12, college, these are all cohort-based experiences. And one of the reasons that, people think back to college and are very reminiscent and very fond of that time in their life is because all the connections and friendships that they made along the way. And so one of the reasons we love working with cohort-based programs is because people will come for the content, but at the end of the day, they stay for the relationships. And that is what we love. And that's what we're really striving to do, is help more people, empower more people to build these live learning experiences. And so people who have, already maybe an online course, to basically add that learning and cohort element to it to really create that student engagement.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said there. And definitely it's quotable that community, the people come for the content, but they stay for the community. And I think that that's so accurate because the relationships that really form over time, not just for, the personal relationships, but also, in your career, in your life, there's so much more that you can really grasp onto concepts and really see that impact over time. So one of the things that I really love about cohort learning, and you've really just shared that, is that you go through the curriculum together. There's this shared experience. And from that educational background, if you are listening and you're a teacher, you know what I'm talking about. You have scaffolded learning. And so people are able to really leverage the experiences of the group. And so if maybe you're an online coach and you've never considered doing a cohort-based program, or maybe you have an existing group coaching program or a certification, think about ways that you can engage the group in conversations that are opinion based or have the ability to have open-ended discussions. Because sometimes telling people, okay, well, here's this 3-question quiz, there's definitely a right or wrong answer, that's not the kind of community that people stay for. What really people stay for is that community aspect. And that's not just for online courses, but that's really for business in general. And so if you create a end user group or a product engaged group, then those people will be able to come back to you time and time again, and you can offer different services, you can offer additional support options. There's so many things that you can do. So I really, really love what you're doing. And one of the questions that I have for you is, experiences that your customers have. Can you tell me about some of the experiences with the platform that other people have or organizations have gone through with you, and what their results were after working in your platform and with your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So Virtually is what we like to call a virtual event manager and a VEM. And a VEM plays really well with an existing community platform like Circle or Slack, or a learning management system. So the idea is that this is an admin-only tool. Your students aren't going to be interacting with Virtually. It's specifically something designed for you to automate the back end of your online course, and specifically the live events. And the way Virtually essentially works is that we integrate with all the tools that you'd need to run your live events. For example, Google Calendar, Zoom, Airtable. We also integrate with Slack and Circle, your existing community platforms, and Zapier to help build automations as well. And the idea is Google Calendar is great for one-on-one or small group discussion, but if you're trying to build live events for your community of 100, 200, 300 people, quickly the logistics of it just get out of hand. And so what we're able to do is help automate all of that. When you think about it, creating events online is actually really hard. You've got to generate your Zoom link. You got to make sure that the right permissioning is there and the right Zoom settings are there. You need to make sure people are aware of these events, that they're reminded about these events. And once they attend the event, you should track attendance and collect feedback. Once you have all this data, you should be able to kind of synthesize it so you're able to see engagement trends and then easily export it into an Airtable or a CRM that you can kind of leverage to iterate on your live programming. Now, that's a lot of work. And imagine doing that for every single event. Say you're hosting 3 events or 5 events. That just quickly grows beyond anybody's capabilities to handle. And so virtually, we're working with some of the top cohort-based programs out there. So Ali Abdul's Part-Time YouTuber Academy, David Perel's Rite of Passage, even boot camps like SV Academy. These programs have hundreds, if not thousands of students going through the program per cohort. And you can imagine how difficult it is to manage the logistics of that. And so what we're really able to do is help automate all the heavy lifting around hosting these live programmings so these programs can focus on delivering an exceptional student experience.
That's so fantastic. And I love that. And I think that it's really true when it comes to ensuring that you have attendance and show up rates and being able to track it, right? So when students sign up for these events, there are certain, tools out there that will allow you to add it to a calendar or, be able to email out a link. But as you said, the logistics of handling that can be difficult, and trying to track who came here and who didn't come there can be really hard logistically. And so that's why there are program managers and success managers like myself who do that and track it for you. Or, there are tools that will enhance the role of someone in your team, like virtually. So what I love about that is when you're starting to do cohort-based learning, or when you have virtual events that are servicing hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, you can get to the point where tracking data over time for your events, you'll be able to see some trends, and you'll be able to determine why was the attendance rate lower this time of the year or this particular topic. And then collecting this pieces of data will help you make more informed decision as a business owner to decide on what events were performing well, or what events do you need to shift? Was it a time question? And I think timing is a big thing, right? Especially if you're servicing a global community, and trying to evaluate, who do you need to hire, what time zones you need to support the students in your program or your attendees or your customers, and evaluating how you can handle the overall programming. So I love that you have those data and analytics, and you talked a little bit about some integrations. What kind of stories are you absolutely do you love to share about how people started getting to use it? Because I know you mentioned a couple of the customers that you've had. What's one of your favorite stories to share about someone using the platform for the first time, or after they finished integrating a big cohort?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the programs that we really love working with is Rite of Passage, which is a program that helps people build basically kind of their writing audience online. And David Perella, a really reputable Twitter influencer, runs that program. And one of the things that they did in a recent cohort is use virtually to send automated surveys to everybody who attends class. Because virtually, again, we know exactly who in your program is attending classes. What we can do is we can send specifically targeted surveys to those individuals to collect feedback. And the feedback we got from that organization was just how invaluable that data is, that qualitative data. And so the nice thing about virtually is we bring together that attendance data, the quantitative side, as well as the qualitative side in one place, because the numbers can only tell you so much. When you actually have somebody saying oh, today in class, I hate it, I love, that David brought up this point, but, I was still confused about this and this concept. It adds so much context to your quantitative data. And with this data, you can build more tailored student experiences. And so that's what we want to do, is we want to empower educators to deliver transformation for their students, and data is just such a big part of that.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you said that. Well, awesome. Well, I know that you have a podcast and you also have a blog, and I'm just chuckling here because I know we have a mutual friend, Danielle, and I want to know about your podcast, and I want you to share about it. What's your podcast about? What do you talk about? You're obviously very skilled and knowledgeable about this kind of topic. So tell us what you're up to with your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is called Reshaping Education. And honestly, we have topics very similar to this, actually. It's funny to be on the other side of this for once, because normally I'm the one who's hosting. But the goal of Reshaping Education podcast was actually, I started it right at the start of the pandemic, March of 2020. And the reason I thought it was really important, I didn't even call it a podcast at first. When I reached out to people, I just asked if they wanted to have a recorded conversation, because these were people who I really admired in the space, and I wanted to understand how they were thinking about all the shifts that were happening with learning online. And there were a lot. And I recorded them because I thought maybe somebody else will get value out of these conversations. And I just started having so much fun, and I was learning so much. I just realized I had to keep it going, and so I formalized it into an official podcast, put it out there. Didn't even think anybody would listen, but the growth has been tremendous, which has been fantastic. And luckily, through the podcast, I've been able to connect with kind of the top business and education minds in the world. Top CEOs of education boot camps, cohort-based courses, and even billionaires who've started learning management system companies like Michael Chasen, who founded Blackboard and now runs class.com. So I've had to connect it. I've been fortunate enough to connect with so many amazing individuals with the podcast. And yeah, the topics we primarily focus around is this cohort-based learning, how to teach online, and also specifically the trends around online education and what's next.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know you had mentioned briefly that before this conversation, before we started recording, about your background from Facebook and your road to entrepreneurship. So what was that like working for Facebook and kind of like finding your own path? I've actually listened and kind of read a little bit of your blog, and I know a little bit about that road, but tell me in your own words, how did you come up with this idea, having worked from Facebook? Did it come from something that you kind of were reading up about, or did it just come from your own experiences?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think Facebook was amazing. I think I enjoyed my time there. I actually interned there twice. Once in my sophomore year of college, once my junior year, and then full time after I graduated. And I think one of the best parts about Facebook is just the freedom you get. Um, there's just so many amazing perks and benefits. And at the end of the day, there was really one main reason to leave for me, which is that I wanted to build something of my own. I saw that Facebook had solved a problem. It had connected people and brought people together. But there were so many other unsolved problems in the world, and I wanted to help, given the skills I had, to be able to fix some of those problems. And so, yeah, just about 3 years ago, left Facebook to start virtually. The first year was a lot of kind of customer discovery, working with talking to a lot of people in the space and understanding kind of what the pain points were. We raised our kind of first round of funding in November of 2019, and then kept building the platform from July 2019 up until I think May 2020. Sorry, it was July 2019 to May 2020, and that's when we got into Y Combinator Startup Accelerator, and that's when we just put the metal to the pedal and just really tried to build the platform as quickly as possible, because we were finally getting tons and tons of demand. And then finally raised our seed round of financing from Tiger Global in the fall of 2020. And now we're 6 full-time, operating from all over the country. And just working hard to try to build the future of online education.
Yay, I'm so excited for you. And this has just been such a great conversation, talking all about learning and success and student experience. It's truly been one of my favorites. I can't wait to release this episode. So where can people find out about you and what you're up to in virtually?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking to build a live learning experience on Zoom, check out our homepage at tryvirtually.com. And if you just want to keep up with me on social media, my Twitter handle is at Ish Baid, Baid.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so excited to share about student success and learning with live experiences with Zoom with virtually. Thank you so much for being on today's episode. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Melody. This was a blast.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe and follow for more tips about customer success and helping manage your team. I'd love for you to join me also on LinkedIn, where I host weekly training sessions all about how you can support your course customers and your team every single Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're not already following me on TikTok, I share a lot of valuable tips there. I also would love to see you in the comment section and tell me all about your course and your ideas. Join me over at TikTok at The Course Consultant or Melody Johnson. I would love to see you over there. Chat soon.